What up, everybody? This is your boy Tech G back with another video. And in this video, we're going to talk about input-output device interfaces. We're going to be learning how to classify common types of input-output devices, such as networking, peripheral devices, and graphic devices. All right, so let's talk about networking. So networking is the practice of interfacing two or more computing devices with each other for the purpose of sharing data. In this section, you will learn about two categories of networking interfaces, and those two categories are wired and wireless. So let's talk about a wired network. So a wired network interface requires a connection on the device and the connection to the local area network, also known as a LAN. These are two types. There are two types of connectors for a wired network interface. The first one you have is called an RJ11 or registered jack function. It's also known as a telephone connector. And then you have a registered jack function 45, also known as a RJ45, which is a connector used to connect to the Ethernet. The RJ11 can connect PCs, printers, multifunctional devices directly to remote computers or to the internet via a telephone network. The RJ45 is more versatile. It can connect computers and devices to each other on a LAN or to the internet. And the RJ11 cable generally has 4 to 6 wires, whereas the RJ45 has 8 wires. All right, so let's talk about the RJ11 telephone connector. So the RJ11 connector is more commonly known as a modem port, phone connector, phone jack, or phone line. It typically has anywhere between 4 to 6 wires. The RJ11 connects a device called a dial-up modem or an analog modem or a fax device to a telephone line. The connecting modem translates digital signals into analog form for transmission over phone lines, and the remote modem reverses the process. Because signals were sent in both directions, both modems translated digital to analog signals and analog to digital signals. Now keep in mind, before the widespread availability of DSL, cable, and fiber optic internet connections, dial-up connections were standard for practice internet access. Even though dial-up modems are pretty much obsolete in the greater context of internet access, they are still very useful when it comes to sending data via a fax machine, assuming the dial-up modem has a fax capability, of course. Let's talk about the RJ45 Ethernet connector. So the RJ45 connector is an 8-pin connection used for all types of copper wire-based Ethernet networking, including the most common types, which would be the fast Ethernet and the gigabit Ethernet. The connector is most commonly connected to the end of a Cat5 cable, which is connected to a computer network card and a network device such as a network switch or router. The following table lists the recommended cable grades for various types of wired Ethernet. Using a cable grade lower than the one recommended for a particular Ethernet connection speed can result in excessive transmission and reception errors or a reduction in network speed. All right, so let's talk about wireless. So wireless networks are computer networks that are not connected by cables of any kind. They use a wireless network. That enables enterprises to avoid the costly process of introducing cables into buildings or a connection between different equipment locations. Wireless networking enables a computer, smartphone, tablet, or multifunctional peripheral, such as printers, scanners, copiers, etc., to connect with other devices without the cables. The 3 types of wireless Ethernet connections for CompTIA IT fundamental exams that you need to understand are as such. So you need to be concerned with Wi-Fi, also known as wireless Ethernet, which will be explained in later sections. You need to be familiar with Bluetooth, and you need to be familiar with near field communication, also known as NFC. So let's talk about Bluetooth. All right. So what is that? Okay. You got to forgive me, guys. I'm not an expert at making slides, but I am good at IT. So let's talk about Bluetooth. So Bluetooth is a wireless technology standard used for exchanging data between fixed and mobile devices over short distances using short wavelength UHF, which stands for ultra high frequency radio waves in the industrial, scientific, and medical radio bands from the 2.400 to the 2.485 gigahertz. And it's also used in building personal area networks, also known as PANs. Bluetooth can be used to do the following things. It can connect to wireless speakers, mice, keyboards, printers, game controllers. It can transfer files between devices. It can control home security and automation devices. And it can integrate your smartphone with your car's audio or navigation system. The process of connecting two Bluetooth devices to each other requires the following steps. The Bluetooth must be enabled on both devices. Bluetooth can be turned on or off on computers, tablets, and smartphones. The computer, smartphone, or tablet must be discoverable. So depending upon the operating system and device, this option may be turned on automatically when you turn on Bluetooth. And finally, the device must be paired. So that is how Bluetooth essentially works. There are 3 Bluetooth power classes, but most Bluetooth devices use class 2 radios, ladies and gentlemen. So these are the power classes, device classes, the power classes, and the intended range. So the average Bluetooth is good for about 10 meters or 33 feet. Next is near field communication. So near field communication is a set of communication protocols that enables 2 electronic devices, one of which is usually a portable device such as a smartphone, to establish communication by bringing them within 4 centimeters of each other. Near field communication enables smartphones to be used for payment services such as Apple Pay, Samsung Pay, and others. NFC also enables files transfers between supported devices. To transfer files between smartphones with NFC, both smartphones must have NFC enabled, and NFC file transfer utility must be enabled. And those utilities are S-Beam if you're using a Samsung phone, or Android Beam if you're using an Android phone. And once that is enabled, basically you just simply tap the phones together to transfer the files. And NFC can also be used with compatible printers for tap to print capabilities. Let's talk about peripheral devices. So the rise of laptop computers with few or no internal upgrades available, and the need to have peripherals that work with all types of computers, external peripheral devices, have become very, very popular. The IT fundamentals exam focuses on the following devices: the USB, FireWire, Thunderbolt, Bluetooth, and RF stands for radio frequencies. Let's talk about USB, Universal Serial Bus. So USB is a plug and play interface that allows a computer to communicate with a peripheral and other devices. USB ports can be used for input devices such as keyboards, mice, scanners, storage devices such as flash drives, optical drives, and external hard drives, output devices such as printers, multifunction devices, and even displays and adapters for both wired and wireless networks. A single USB port, which is also known as a root hub, can connect to multiple devices when a USB hub is connected to the port. Let's see. Also, most computers today come loaded up with drivers. So if a USB device is plugged into a computer, in most cases, the device is recognized automatically. If the device is a storage device, the user might be prompted to select an action to take when the drive is connected. So if the device is not recognized, then the user will be prompted to install a driver. Let's talk about FireWire. So FireWire is also known as IEEE 1394, and it is a method of transferring information between digital services, especially that of audio and video equipment. FireWire comes in two versions. You have FireWire 400, which runs up to 400 megabits per second. And then you have FireWire 800, also known as IEEE 1394B, which runs up to 800 megabits per second. FireWire 800 uses a 9-pin connector, and FireWire 400 uses a 4-wire or a 6-wire connector. The FireWire 800 connection hosts only FireWire 800 devices, whereas the bilingual connector can host either FireWire 400 or FireWire 800 connections or devices. Just use the appropriate cable. All right, let's talk about Thunderbolt. So Thunderbolt is a high-speed peripheral connection standard that was originally introduced by Apple for its macOS desktop and laptop computers. Thunderbolt has also been adopted by some manufacturers of computers and motherboards that use Microsoft Windows. Thunderbolt allows the connection of external peripherals to a computer. Thunderbolt 1 and 2 use the same connectors as Mini DisplayPort, also known as MDP, whereas Thunderbolt 3 reuses the USB-C connector from USB. Thunderbolt is also used for high-speed storage, including external drives, network-attached storage, also known as NAS, and redundant array of independent disks, known as RAID. It is also used for high-resolution video. Thunderbolt also supports daisy-chained peripherals. So in Thunderbolt, a cable from the computer connects to the first device in the chain. The device has two Thunderbolt ports, so another device is connected to the second port, and so on. If storage and display devices are mixed on a single Thunderbolt daisy chain, the display needs to be the last device. So here are some Thunderbolt versions. You got 1, 2, and 3 with the maximum speeds and the connection type. And as you can see in the picture above, you can see the USB-A, or it should be USB-C, the mini display, and the USB-A, the USB-C, and the mini DisplayPort Thunderbolts 1 and 2. All right, let's talk about docking devices real quick. So a docking device is a device that uses a single connector to the computer to provide several different types of peripheral connections. So if you got a setup to where you have 2, 3, 4 monitors, it's in your best interest to use a docking device to connect all of these devices together. All right, let's move on and talk about radio frequency, also known as RF. So radio frequency is a general term for wireless devices that do not use one of the established standards, that of Bluetooth or wireless internet, also known as Wi-Fi. The major devices that use proprietary RF interfacing are mice and keyboards that do not support Bluetooth. Most of these devices use dedicated transceivers that plug into a USB 2.0 or faster port. If a wireless mouse and keyboard are bundled together, a single transceiver, which is a combo of a transmitter and a receiver, is provided for both devices. So as you can see in the picture over here, you have a keyboard and a mouse, and you have this little transceiver that you can plug into a USB port, preferably that of a 2.0 or higher. Some of these keyboards and mice, you have to punch in like a special code to get them to sync up with the transceiver, and then you can have a wireless connection to your machine using these devices. Let's talk about graphic devices. So data output through a graphic device on computer systems is made possible through techniques that use video generation modules to display images. Graphic device ports are used to connect the graphic processing unit, also known as a GPU, on a video card or built-in processor, also known as the CPU, to displays of various types, including that of flat panel LCD or LED monitors, LED or LCD HD TVs, and projectors. When you see a computer port cluster or video card with 2 or more graphic device ports, you can connect at least 2 displays to the system. So what you're looking at in the bottom left is a computer port, a port cluster. That's where you can, basically, if you look on the back of any not hard drive, but any tower, you will see a little, or even on a monitor, you will see this little port cluster where you can plug in HDMI cables and DVI cables and things of that nature. So on this chart over here, what you're looking at is basically various types of graphic displays. So you got the VGA, which produces an analog signal, DVI, I should say I, but or DV1 or DVI, excuse me, that produces a digital and or analog / digital. You have HDMI, produces digital, and you have DisplayPort, which produces digital. Let's talk about VGAs, video graphics arrays. So a VGA, or a video graphics adapter or array, is a popular display that provides 640 by 480 resolution color display screens with a refresh rate of 60 hertz, and 16 colors are displayed at a time. If the resolution is lowered to 320 by 200, then 256 colors can be shown. VGA uses analog signals, which means it is only capable of lower resolutions and lower quality displays on screen. Because it is an analog standard, computers must convert digital video signals to analog before sending them through a VGA port to a display. Because current displays are digital, the VGA signal must be converted back to digital before it can be displayed. This dual conversion process can lead to display issues. Display resolution refers to the number of dots, the horizontal and vertical, displayed on your screen. So essentially, the greater the number of dots, the higher the resolution, and the sharper and more detailed the display will be. Let's talk about DVI, digital video interface. So DVI was designed to replace VGA while also being compatible with VGA signals. It was developed to be an industry standard for transmitting digital video content to display devices at resolutions as high as 2560 by 1600. Common devices that utilize DVI connections are computer monitors and projectors. The DVI connector may have 1 or 3 names depending upon the signals that it supports. So you will have DVI-A, which is analog signals only. DVI-D supports digital only. And DVI-I supports both digital and analog. Let's talk about HDMI, high definition multimedia interface. So HDMI is a connector and cable that is capable of transmitting high quality and high bandwidth streams of audio and video between devices. HDMI was originally developed for use for HD TVs. It is now a common feature on laptops, desktops, monitors, as well as HD TVs and HD projectors. HDMI can carry both audio and video signals. HDMI is available in various versions, but older HDMI cables might not support advanced functions such as 3D resolutions beyond 1080p. Let's talk about DisplayPorts and mini DisplayPorts. So DisplayPort is a digital display interface primarily used to connect a video source to a display device such as a computer monitor. It can also be used to carry audio, USB, and other forms of data. DisplayPort has similar resolution and audio video features of HDMI, but with 2 major differences. The 2 differences are DisplayPort is a royalty-free video standard, and DisplayPort 1.2 and later supports daisy chaining of displays. Now, when it comes to mini display ports, also known as MiniDP or MDP, the mini DisplayPort is a miniaturized version of the DisplayPort audio visual digital interface. And as you can see, there's a picture of the regular DisplayPort and the mini. All right, so that was the lesson. So let's go ahead and do some check on learning real quick. Which of the following statements is correct about RJ45 ports and Ethernet ports? Would it be they are interchangeable with RJ11 ports? Would it be the same cable type is suitable for all Ethernet speeds? Would it be there are 4 wires inside of an Ethernet cable? Or would it be the lowest recommended cable grade for gigabit Ethernet is Cat5e? So which of the following statements is correct about RJ45 ports and Ethernet cables? The correct answer would be the lowest recommended cable grade for gigabit Ethernet is Cat5e. So if we go back to here, remember an RJ11 is a phone jack. So the little wire that you pull out the back of a landline phone, that is an RJ11. It is actually physically smaller than an RJ45. And no, what is this one? The same cable type is used for all Ethernet speeds. That is incorrect. It says there are 4 wires inside of an Ethernet cable. That is incorrect. There are 8 wires inside of an Ethernet cable. All right. NFC, near field communication, is used for which of the following tasks? Would it be payment systems? Would it be selecting a football conference? Would it be network configuration? Or would it be checking system configurations? NFC, near field communication, is used for which of the following tasks? The correct answer would be payment systems. So if you go through a checkout aisle and they say, hey, you can pay with your phone, what you would do, assuming you have your NFC feature turned on, you would wave your phone within about 4 centimeters of the receiving device, and it will allow for you to make a payment. So NFC has to be within 4 centimeters to work. All right. Final question. You need to connect a FireWire 400 device to a computer with FireWire 800 ports. Which of the following cables do you use? Would it be FireWire 400 to 800 beta cable? Would it be connect the adapter to either FireWire 800 port? Would it be you must install a FireWire 400 port? Or would it be FireWire 400 to 800 bilingual cable? So you have a FireWire 400 device with a FireWire 400 cable hanging out of it, and you were trying to connect it to a computer that supports FireWire 800 ports. Which connection, which cable would you use? The correct answer would be the FireWire 400 to 800 bilingual cable. So basically that is a cable that you can connect to your device that supports either 400 or 800, and it can connect to the computer that, in this example, is only supporting FireWire 800. All right. So here's a quick summary of what we just discussed, ladies and gentlemen. So we have talked about classifying common types of input-output devices that fall within the categories of networking, peripheral devices, and graphic devices. So that is what we have covered in this class. If you want more information, visit my website, technologyg.com, and go there and get caught up on all the latest and greatest so that you can properly prepare and study so that you can pass your CompTIA IT Fundamentals exam. And until next video, holla.